Hello dears, good afternoon everyone. This is your chemistry class for the students of Standard 8. Welcome back to this class. Today our topic is properties of base and salt. In last class, we have explained about the properties of acid, and in this class, we will learn about the properties of base and salt. So at first, properties of base. The properties of base are given below. There are also two types of properties of base like acid. They are physical property and chemical property. The physical property of base are base tastes basic. The taste of base is basic. Basic means a koshta taste. The taste is not so good. It is basic. Base is slippery. Look students, do you touch soap? How is it? Soap is slippery. Do you know why soap is slippery? Because base is present in soap. So, base is slippery. The chemical properties of base are base gives hydroxyl ion in solution. Base gives hydroxyl ion. Acid gives hydrogen ion and base gives hydroxyl ion in solution. Sodium hydroxide, when it is given into water, it gives sodium ion and one hydroxyl ion. Calcium hydroxide, when it is given into water, it gives calcium ion and 2 hydroxyl ion. Some more properties of base are base changes the color of red litmus paper to blue. Already you know this. In red litmus paper, there are acidic substance. So when this litmus paper is given into any base solution, then the base reacts with the acid present in litmus paper and changes its color. So base changes the color of red litmus paper to blue. Base reacts with acid and produces salt and water. This is the most important property of an acid and a base. That acid and base, they are reacted together and produce salt and water. Look here. Here sodium hydroxide, a base, reacts with sulfuric acid and produces sodium sulfate salt and water. Here calcium hydroxide is a base, reacts with hydrochloric acid and produce calcium chloride salt and water. And base solution can conduct electricity like acid solution. That means base solution is also an electrolyte. Base solution can conduct electricity. These are the properties of a base. Now from these properties, like acid, we can analyze a compound is base or not. How? For example, here we will analyze potassium hydroxide as a base. Here we will see that the properties of potassium hydroxide is matched with base or not. If potassium hydroxide possesses the properties of a base, then we can tell that potassium hydroxide is also a base. And also we will analyze that it is an alkali or not. We know that the base which is dissolved into water is alkali. Here, after analyzing potassium hydroxide as a base, we will show that potassium hydroxide is dissolved into water or not. If potassium hydroxide is dissolved into water, then we can tell that potassium hydroxide is a base as well as alkali. Here, potassium hydroxide possesses all the properties of an alkali. The properties of potassium hydroxide are physical property. Potassium hydroxide also tastes basic. Potassium hydroxide is slippery like all bases. The chemical properties of potassium hydroxide are potassium hydroxide gives hydroxyl ion in solution. Potassium hydroxide, when it is given into water, it gives potassium ion and one hydroxyl ion. Potassium hydroxide changes the color of red litmus paper to blue. Some more properties of potassium hydroxide are: potassium hydroxide also reacts with acid and produces salt and water. Here, potassium hydroxide reacts with sulfuric acid and they produce potassium sulfate salt and water. Potassium hydroxide solution can conduct electricity. So, from the above properties of potassium hydroxide, we see that the properties of potassium hydroxide is same as the property of a base. So, from there we can tell that potassium hydroxide possesses all the properties of a base. So, potassium hydroxide is also a base. Now, potassium hydroxide is alkali or not? Potassium hydroxide is soluble into water, and we know the base that is soluble into water is called alkali. Potassium hydroxide is a base and it is soluble into water, so we can tell that potassium hydroxide is an alkali also. So from there we can analyze potassium hydroxide as a base and also as an alkali. Now, salt. Already in previous class we learnt about salt. Salt is a neutral compound that is produced by the reaction of an acid and a base along with water. That means not only sodium chloride or table salt, this is salt. Salt is a neutral compound, and all the compounds that are produced by the reaction of an acid and a base are called salt. The neutral compound that is produced with water by the reaction of an acid and a base is called salt. Here, look, HCl, an acid, reacts with sodium hydroxide, a base, and they produce sodium chloride, neutral compound with water. So, here sodium chloride is a salt. In this way, here sulfuric acid and sodium hydroxide base, they reacted to produce sodium sulfate and water. So, here sodium sulfate is a salt. Here, hydrochloric acid reacts with potassium hydroxide and they produce potassium chloride and water. So, here potassium chloride is a salt. Here nitric acid reacted with calcium hydroxide and produce calcium nitrate and water. So, here calcium nitrate is a neutral compound and it is a salt. So, from all this reaction we can tell that sodium chloride, sodium sulfate, potassium chloride, calcium nitrate, all these are salts and they are neutral compound and they are produced by the reaction of an acid and a base. Now, properties of salt. The properties of a salt are: salt tastes salty. We all know this, that the taste of salt is salty. Salts are ionic compound. You know about ionic compound. Ionic compound is a compound of a positive ion and a negative ion. Here in salt there is one metallic ion and one negative anion. This metallic ion is positive ion, cation, and another ion that is anion. For example, sodium chloride, here sodium ion positive ion and chloride ion negative ion. Potassium sulfate, here potassium ion positive ion and sulfate ion negative ion. So, in every salt there is one positive ion and one negative ion. So, salts are ionic compound. Salt is a neutral compound, so salt does not change the color of blue or red litmus paper. Salts give positive metallic ion, that is cation, and negative non-metallic ion, that is anion, in solution. For example, sodium chloride, it gives positive sodium ion and negative chloride ion. Calcium nitrate, it gives positive calcium ion and negative nitrate ion. So these are the properties of a salt. Now we will learn production of salt. Already we learned that salt is produced by the reaction of an acid and a base. That means salt is only produced by this way. There is no other way by which we can produce salt. No. There are also some other ways by which salt can be produced. Here, this is the main way to produce salt. That is, salt is produced by the reaction of an acid and a base. Here, HCl acid and sodium hydroxide base, they produce sodium chloride, salt and water. Sulfuric acid and magnesium hydroxide base, they produce magnesium sulfate and water. In this way, salt can be produced. There are also some ways. Another way is the reaction of an acid and a metal. That means you learnt this when you learnt the properties of an acid. That acid reacts with metal to produce salt and hydrogen. So this is one way to produce salt, by the reaction of acid and metal. Here, HCl, hydrochloric acid, reacts with zinc metal and produce zinc chloride and hydrogen. Here, zinc chloride is a salt. How is it produced? It is produced by the reaction of acid and metal. Another one, nitric acid and magnesium metal, they reacted to produce magnesium nitrate salt and hydrogen. There is also another one way by which salt can be produced. That is the reaction of an acid and a carbonate or bicarbonate compound. When any carbonate compound reacts with acid, then they produce salt, water and carbon dioxide gas. You learnt this. And also, when any bicarbonate compound reacts with an acid, they also produce salt, water and carbon dioxide gas. Here, sulfuric acid reacts with calcium carbonate, carbonate of calcium, and produce calcium sulfate, water and carbon dioxide. So, in this way, calcium sulfate is produced, that is a salt. And another one is, here nitric acid reacts with potassium bicarbonate, bicarbonate of potassium, and they produce potassium nitrate salt, water and carbon dioxide. So, salt not only can be produced by the reaction of an acid and a base. Salt also can be produced by the reaction of an acid with metal, carbonate and also bicarbonate compounds. So, my dear students, today up to this, we have finished our this chapter. Not only this, we have completed our chemistry syllabus from your science book. So, thanks to everyone. Goodbye everyone. Next class, I will come with the exercise and some creative question. See you in the next class.